When I opened the drawer of my mother's nightstand 3 hours after she had been declared dead, I found a broken string of beads and a letter from my uncle saying he would be coming home that night. The smell of candles and medicine still filled the room. At that moment, I realized that the nightmare worse than death was just beginning. My name is Margaret Ann, but everyone calls me Miss Maggie. I am 79 years old, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, where the winter winds can cut through your soul. Today, I'm going to tell a story I've kept hidden for over 50 years. A story that happened in late 1978 when I was just 18, discovering that the monster doesn't always hide under the bed. Sometimes it shares your blood and comes with a suitcase claiming to be there to take care of the family. Our home was simple yet cozy in the west side of Cleveland. One of those brick houses with a front porch and a backyard with an apple tree and a small vegetable garden that my father tended to on the rare Sundays when he was sober. The wooden window frames shook violently in the wind. The floorboards creaked, signaling someone was about to arrive. The old gas fireplace still burned even in the summer. Those memories still warm my heart on the coldest days. There were 3 of us, me, my mother Eleanor, and my father Thomas. He worked at the steel mill, leaving before sunrise and only returning home late at night when he was actually there. Many times he would go straight to the bar after work, or as I later found out, to the casinos downtown. My mother took on laundry for wealthy families in Shaker Heights. She would wake up early, boil water in the big tub in the basement, soap it up, scrub, rinse, iron the clothes. The work took a toll on her hands and back. But I never heard her complain. My mother was a strong woman, one who faced life's challenges but never backed down. Her hair was short and thin, always neatly tied back. Her hands were red from the soap and hot water. Her eyes, oh her eyes, were the most beautiful blue I had ever seen, like the sky after a spring rain. I inherited those eyes. It was the only wonderful thing I got from her. I helped as much as I could, hanging clothes on the line, delivering completed orders to the homes of women in Lakewood, doing housework while laundry was going. I also studied at night at West High School. I wanted to be a teacher, a dream for a poor girl back then, a diploma, independence, a life different from my mother's. Everything changed that day, February 15th, 1978. It was one of those Cleveland winter days that leaves you aching to the bone. The sky gray and drizzly, the damp cold seeping into every corner of the house. My mother had been sick for weeks. The illness started with a persistent cough, then came the night fevers and weakness. Tuberculosis, the doctor had said that weeks ago. It was a disease that had taken many lives back then, especially among the poor who couldn't afford treatment at the Cleveland Clinic. That morning, I woke up in silence. It was strange because even when she was sick, my mother was always the first to rise, stoke the fire and boil water. But that day, there was nothing. I went to her room, the door ajar. Mom. Silence. I pushed the door open slowly. She lay on her side, her back to the door. The blanket pulled up to her neck just like how she slept when it was cold. Mom, it's time for your medicine. Nothing. No movement at all. I stepped closer and touched her shoulder. Cold, stiff a feeling. I will never forget. Mom. I slowly turned her over and saw what I had known in my heart. Her eyes were open, vacant, staring into nothingness. Her mouth slightly parted as if she were trying to say one last thing. Her skin pale, the color no longer hers. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not then. I stood there numb, looking at the only person who truly loved me in this world, now gone. The neighbors helped call the doctor, the very one who diagnosed the tuberculosis. He came, examined her, and confirmed the obvious. Death from complications of tuberculosis. It could have happened early that morning. I signed paperwork, answered questions, all automatic, as if I wasn't there, as if I was watching everything from outside my own body. The neighbor, Mr. Sullivan from Sullivan's Grocery, found my father at Murphy's Tavern on Lorraine Avenue. He came after a few hours, smelling of cheap beer, eyes red swaying. What happened? What happened to Eleanor? Your wife has passed away. Mr. Thomas, the doctor explained with the coldness of someone who had witnessed too many deaths to be moved. My father knelt by the bed mostly from the imbalance of alcohol rather than from grief. He cried loudly and dramatically, pounding his chest, tearing at his hair, repeating her name, an act that did not touch my heart. Where was he when she needed to see a doctor? When there was no money for medicine? When she coughed up blood that morning? The funeral was held at our home, as was customary. The neighbor women bathed and dressed my mother in the only nice dress she had, a dark navy dress she only wore to Sunday service at St. Patrick's. They lit candles, covered the mirrors, prepared strong black coffee and bread with butter for anyone who came to mourn. The women from the neighborhood came, my father's co-workers from the steel mill, even some customers from Shaker Huts. Everyone repeated the same old phrases: God works in mysterious ways. At least she doesn't have to suffer anymore. She was a devout woman. I quietly watched everything from a corner. The tears finally fell quietly, continuously, like sleep that brought no rest. It wasn't until mid-afternoon that I remembered her things. I needed to store and organize them. That was what had to be done. I went into the room, opened the nightstand drawer where she kept her personal items. The black rosary she prayed with every night was still there, broken in half, as if someone had forcefully torn it apart. It was strange. She had taken such care of that rosary from St. Patrick's Church. And then the letter appeared, a simple envelope with the thick, poorly written script of Uncle Edward, my mother's brother, a man I hardly knew, living in Pittsburgh and rarely visiting. The last time was at Christmas 6 months ago. I opened the letter. Written 3 days prior, Eleanor, I received your message. Everything is arranged here. I will come on Friday night. I know Thomas won't like this, but it's time for family. I will help take care of her and the little one. Don't worry anymore. Your brother Edward. Friday. Today is Friday. He's coming. But my mother never mentioned anything about calling Uncle Edward. Why would she do that without telling me I didn't have time to think anymore? The living room door opened. The sudden silence caught my attention. I heard his voice before I saw him. Where's my sister? A deep, authoritative voice. A commanding voice, not asking, but imposing. I tucked the letter into my apron pocket and went back to the living room. It was Uncle Edward, tall, robust, with black hair slicked back with shiny cream, a thick mustache. He wore a gray suit carrying an old leather suitcase. His eyes were just like my mother's, just like mine, but cold, always cold. Someone pointed to the casket. He walked through the room, ignoring the greetings and condolences. He stopped in front of my mother's body. He stood there looking in silence. Then he made the sign of the cross, kissed her forehead, and turned away. That was when he saw me. Margaret, he said, not as a question or greeting. It was a statement like someone saying, still here. Uncle Edward, when did this happen this morning? The doctor said it was overnight. Tuberculosis. Yes, tuberculosis, he said, shortly and dryly. Where's your father? I pointed to the backyard where my father was sitting with some men from the mill drinking beer, looking both resigned and mournful. Uncle Edward went there. I watched their conversation through the window. My father looked surprised, then annoyed. My uncle talked, gestured. My father shook his head in disagreement, then finally gave in. Something had been decided, and I wasn't consulted. The next day after the funeral at St. Mary's Cemetery, I learned that Edward was going to stay here, my father announced, without looking me in the eye. To help take care of the house and you. I don't need anyone to take care of me, Dad. I'm 18. You really do need it. I'm your father, I decide. Before I could respond, my uncle had walked into the kitchen. He had taken off his suit jacket, rolled up his shirt sleeves. He looked larger in our small house. We'll start organizing everything tomorrow. The house is too messy. It doesn't even look like a woman lives here. the random cruelty of those words, as if my mother hadn't worked herself to death until her last day, as if our home hadn't been as clean and tidy as it could be. "My mother was sick," I replied, a surge of anger rising in my throat. He looked at me as if just realizing I was there. "Yes. And who took care of her?" "It looks like no one did right. If someone did, she wouldn't have died like that." The accusation landed like a slap. I felt my face flush. Tears welled up again, but I wouldn't let them fall. "I took care of her every day. Dad, the one you didn't finish." My father stood up from his chair, raising his hand, ready to strike. "Watch how you speak, girl." My uncle placed his hand on his shoulder, stopping him. "Easy, Thomas. She's upset. She lost her mother." Then he turned to me. "But learn one thing, girl. This house has new rules now. I'm not your mother to coddle you. You will show respect or you will face discipline. You choose." The threat hung in the air, heavy, real. I ran to my room, the only place that still felt like mine in the house, which in less than 24 hours had gone from a refuge to a prison. Lying on the bed staring at the water-stained ceiling, I understood that my mother's death was just the beginning of my next losses. Now I have lost my home, lost my freedom, lost my peace, and in my uncle's eyes that afternoon, I saw that he would take even more from me. Oh, my dear loved ones, watching this video, I have wandered into memories and almost forgotten about you. Have you ever gone through something like this, losing someone and having your whole life turned upside down? Please let me know in the comments below where you are watching this video from and how many children you have. I would love to know the souls on the other side of this little screen who are sharing a bit of my story. Don't forget to subscribe to the Grandparents Stories channel and like this video to make Grandma happy. Now, let's continue. The first night after the funeral, I stayed up late. I could hear their conversation in the kitchen. My father and uncle were drinking whiskey and talking loudly. The problem is with the girl that was Uncle Edward's voice. What about Margaret? She's at a dangerous age. They think she's a woman now. Eleanor has spoiled her, letting her run wild. Is that really why you came to make her obey? I came here because Eleanor asked me to before her condition worsened. She knew she was dying. She knew you wouldn't be able to handle it. And the girl. What girl? The girl must take responsibility. What else can we blame my friend for Eleanor's death? Of course, if she weren't so rebellious, if she didn't talk back so much, it wouldn't have caused so much suffering. I had to bite the pillow to keep from screaming. How dare he? I was the one who cared for my mother until her last breath. The one who worked, studied, helped the family, who never embarrassed or worried anyone else. Stop talking nonsense, Edward. For the first and only time, my father stood up for me. Margaret is very hardworking, and Eleanor died of tuberculosis, not from sorrow. She had tuberculosis and had to wash clothes in the freezing basement to keep this house running while you squandered all the money on gambling and bars. Silence. Then the sound of a chair scraping glass breaking. I didn't call you here to judge me. No, but I still came. Someone has to restore order in this house. The threat hung in the air. Then I heard footsteps and the door slam. Maybe my father would go to Murphy's pub like he usually did when things got tough at home. 3 days after the funeral, I started to understand Uncle Edward's plan. He woke me up early and pulled the blanket off my bed. Get up. There's laundry to do. I rubbed my eyes confused, but today is Monday. I have class in the afternoon and work in the morning at Woolworths. No more classes or work. I spoke to the manager at Woolworths and the school. Now you will stay home. What? You can't do that. I can, and I already did. Your father agreed. He's the one responsible, not you. I'm 18 now. It's time to learn how to take care of the house properly. You will work here to pay for room and board. But my dad, your father, is no longer in charge. I am responsible now. And he did just that. Within a week, Uncle Edward had completely changed our routines.